Good morning. My name is Joey Dryle, and today I will be reviewing the movie Milk, produced in 2008. I would like to begin by saying how very touching and powerful this movie felt to me. Sean Penn, for example, does an excellent job with displaying the likability as well as the tragedy of the person Harvey Milk. Many of the places that this film does historically accurately are found in set and character design. The film opens with real black and white footage from the raiding of a gay bar by police, which almost transports you back into the era of Harvey Milk. The cars and the clothing of 70s San Francisco as they cruise by in the shots, the hairstyles, the way people speak are all done accurately to the time period. Many of the specific frames, like the famous debate over Proposition 6, which was an act in California to ban homosexuals and their supporters in the education system, and the shots of him leading parades with the lei around his neck, sitting in the back seat of a convertible, as well as the audio of his "Should I Be Assassinated" tape, which I have included in my blog, are nearly in sync and visually identical. However, the film has been criticized for its historical inaccuracies as well. One critic mentioned that the film tries to castrate Milk. Harvey Milk was known to be a highly sexual person. However, to appeal to an equally large heterosexual audience, as well as a slightly more homophobic mindset in 2008, many believe that Milk's sexuality and overall inclusiveness of his sexual partners and sexual acts were expurgated from the film. Another critic mentioned a huge plot hole in the film. Dan White, the murderer of Harvey Milk, was widely portrayed in the movie as extremely homophobic, and possibly even as a closeted gay man himself during drunk scenes where his heterosexuality falls when speaking to Harvey. However, this is quite blatantly inaccurate. Dan White's campaign manager, Ray Sloan, conveniently not mentioned in the movie, who later turned out to be a homosexual himself, was purposely not consulted about the film, as the producers thought that it might poke holes in their portrayal of Dan White. Sloan believed that White was portrayed as homophobic to glorify Harvey Milk and his campaign, when in reality he was only an unstable man who became homicidal when betrayed by Milk and Mayor Moscone. In fact, Dan White openly supported nearly all of Milk's gay-friendly resolutions, donated to fight the Briggs Initiative, which was another title for Proposition 6 mentioned before, and even used his authority to help appoint Milk to two important committees. He was known to be a gay supporter, and his potential closeted lifestyle, as suggested in the movie, was never as conclusive as the film suggested. I think that all of this was done in order to eliminate sympathy for Dan White as a character, because he was supposed to be the opposer to Milk and also the antagonist for the film. In my opinion, White's story was muddled and hard to follow. I was consistently confused about his motivations. His murder scene was extremely effective, but all of the events involving Dan White leading up to the murder scene were often unclear to me personally. Lastly, I would like to mention that I did like the movie despite the critiques that I've mentioned, and I would like to speak on one example of a place that the film displayed wonderful cinematography, and why it was not only an excellent story, but also a touching movie. The first scene after the title card is the news story that Milk and Mayor Moscone had been shot and killed. This sets up the somber tone for the movie, but also I think that it subconsciously sets the audience on edge for all of the rest of the film. The most significant time this manifests is in the speech he gives in downtown San Francisco, which I have included the movie clip of this in my blog. Before going on to the stage, Milk receives a letter on a postcard saying that if he gives this speech, he will be shot. He chooses to go on stage and give the speech nonetheless, but as a person who was unaware of his actual death and how it occurred, this scene was extremely nerve-wracking. Harvey Milk walks on stage, and immediately you are scanning the audience shots for the shooter, as there are massive amounts of people in the audience, and it is a very wide frame. Then it pans to a shaky and anxious camera shot displaying Harvey Milk and the terrace above him, seemingly open for any shooter to aim at him from. The way that this film sets up the scene, like many others, is artfully done and incredibly emotional for the audience. Overall, for the movie Milk, I would give the film historical accuracy a 7 out of 10, as any film about a real event has to be beefed up to make a moving story for the audience. As for casting, story, and cinematography, I think that a 9 to 9.5 out of 10 is fair for this film. This was an excellent movie to watch, and I've greatly enjoyed reviewing it for you and for myself. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great break, Mrs. Munson.